Hey, so in my first video, I talked about how all this started with mystery back pain, ER visits, and tests that didn't show anything. At the time, endometriosis wasn't even on my mind. This video is about how that changed, how I went from what is going on to wait, could this actually be endo? So I mentioned my first ER trip. I was having pain under my right ribs and deep in my back. I couldn't stand up straight. I needed a wheelchair. Even breathing hurt. I was scared it was something like a kidney issue or even cancer, especially because both my grandparents had serious diagnoses in that area. I did happen to be on my period, like I mentioned last time, but honestly, I didn't think it was connected. It wasn't just one bad flare, the pain kept happening. Not constantly, but it would come back completely sporadically. Um, and it was actually my husband who pointed it out. He said, "Hey, did you notice this keeps happening on your period?" And I hadn't. I was so in it, just reacting to the pain and trying to get through the day. I didn't stop to look at the timing, really. But once he said that, it started to click. I look back, and sure enough, the worst episodes did tend to happen during my period. And even though the pain didn't feel like period cramps, I wouldn't describe it as crampy, the timing was hard to ignore. So I started to do some research online, and that led me to diaphragmatic endometriosis. I kept going and started hearing stories, people online talking about things like thoracic endo or deep infiltrating endo, and their symptoms sounded a lot like mine. At one point, I just said it. I think this might be endometriosis. Not because I was trying to slap a label on it, but because everything else had been real, like nothing else matched. And I needed some direction. Like I said in my previous video, I could tell my doctor was hesitant to go down that road. I don't think she meant to be dismissive, but I definitely felt like I had to push for the conversation and the referrals. And once I said that out loud, I started connecting other dots too. Symptoms I never thought might be related, like how I've been chronically tired since childhood. They even tested me for diabetes when I was young because I was always exhausted. Or the heartburn I've had off and on since my late teens. Unexplained, just something I managed. Or how I've dealt with spotting at odd times in my cycle. I also started experiencing brain fog. There's something called endo brain. Surprise, surprise. Causes memory and focus issues. So much so that last fall I asked my psychiatrist if I might have ADHD. The overlap in symptoms made me wonder. And then there's the frequent UTI symptoms, pressure, discomfort, but no infection. Hardly ever. At the time, none of it seemed connected. But now, kind of feels like I'm finally seeing the full picture. It really reinforces that endo can be invisible for years, even to the person living with it. You have to think critically about your own health history. You have to ask, is this really unrelated? Like, what are the chances of so many things going wrong and they're not related? And sometimes those so-called quiet periods when symptoms are dialed down doesn't actually mean everything's fine. Right now, I'm still not formally diagnosed, but I've had imaging done. My latest internal ultrasound showed a cyst on my right ovary and bleeding in my tubes. I've got a follow-up schedule to see whether that cyst has resolved on its own. If it's hemorrhagic, it might go away. If it's still there, it could be an endometrioma, which is strongly associated with endometriosis, hence the name. So it's not just a gut feeling anymore. There are signs, but I'm still stuck in the in-between. I don't have all the answers, but I know how it feels to doubt yourself, to wonder if you're being dramatic, or worse, to be told nothing's wrong when you know something is. If that's where you are too, I see you. Feel free to comment or just follow along if you're still piecing things together like I am. If you're further along in your journey, I'd love to hear what helped you connect the dots. You're not alone.